The pit opens up again, and now the skull shall speak. What's up, everyone? This is Strange Skull, back with another video, and this time a review of the first episode of X-Men 97. I have 3 pages of notes. Before we get to that, I was kind of looking forward to this show because, again, I've said many times on this channel, I love the X-Men. They are probably my favorite comic book characters. I know behind me I've got Iron Man, War Machine, and Spawn here, but I don't keep most of my X-Men stuff in mint condition because I like posing my X-Men figures and reading my X-Men books, which are in my bookshelves right now. But the X-Men cartoon back in the 90s, I loved watching that. I watched that and Spider-Man. Granted, I love Spider-Man, I love the Iron Man cartoons and stuff, but the 2 cartoons for comic books that were the biggest influence on me, that made me want to read comic books, were the Batman the Animated Series and the X-Men cartoon. Now, granted, I might have rose-tinted glasses, but I love the 97 cartoon. And a lot of people complained about the animation quality and the story quality. Well, compared to the Spider-Man cartoon, the X-Men cartoon, I put it on par with the writing of Batman the Animated Series. I don't know how the X-Men team got away with what they did, whereas if you guys remember the Spider-Man cartoon, for God's sakes, those guys couldn't even have Spider-Man land on a roof and have pigeons fly around because they had so many notes of they don't want it to appear Spider-Man jumped on pigeons. But anyway, the X-Men cartoon ended in 1996. And it kind of, the final season of the cartoon, its 5th season, that was when there were a lot of problems going on with Fox, new leadership. The budget on the show got cut. And if you watch that final season, season 5, you will see halfway through it, the animation quality goes down in the shitters. When before, in the other seasons, it literally looked like Jim Lee artwork popping out of the popping out from the comic book and moving around. But that last season, it got shitty. The character designs, they all looked puffy. And also some of the voice actors, they changed them. I don't know why, because it's like halfway through the season, Gambit's voice actor changed. I think even Rogue's voice actor changed a bit. Again, it's been a while since I watched the final season, because, quite frankly, it kind of sucked. And even the final episode of the show, it was like they just had to write an ending. Because they didn't know where the fuck they were going. They knew they just had to write a finale, and they just ramshackle an episode together that made no fucking sense. And you could tell it didn't make no fucking sense, because this is where this show picks up. Now, I guess I'll just start off. I'm not going to talk about the other shit that's been going on. The fact that the guy who created the showrunner for this show, I think his name is DeMeo, he's already been shown the door. We don't know anything else. They keep trying to push this narrative that the fact that he had dick pics on his OnlyFans, which I don't believe that. I think maybe after watching this first episode, and maybe a lot of people are right in the fact that Disney got rid of this guy because the show has a little bit of problems. But don't worry. Got my trusty notes here so we can get through this. Now, the first episode of the show is called To Me, My X-Men. I don't like that line. It works only when Professor X says it, but they have Cyclops say it, in this episode. It doesn't work. I don't know why. I just don't like the line. Maybe it's just because it's from the modern comics and not from Claremont's run. And let's just say, I kind of wish they had Chris Claremont writing this show because it'd be a million times better. Because the fucking writing in this show. I mean, even the original show kind of was spotty, but they were writing this show for kids, so they had to watch what they could do. This show, it skeets the line, but God, the dialogue is bad. But all right, now this first episode starts off with them recounting the death of Professor X, even though when the show ended in '96, he's not dead. He gets taken by Lilandra to go to the Shi'ar because of this device Gyrick used that fucked with his telekinesis and was like kind of killing him. But see, again, it's been a while. I should have watched the final episode because I remember from my memory, it wasn't Gyrick that screwed with Professor X. It was Gaiden Creed, but I could be wrong. If any of you guys remember, put down in the comments. But anyway, first episode starts off with them recounting it, saying they arrested Gyrick, and now the UN has accepted the mutants, and mutants are friends. And it starts off immediately. You're in a shitty warehouse, and you see the Morlocks, which I'm not the biggest fan of the Morlocks in the comics and even in the show, but you see a little Easter egg of them. They're in an alleyway. I think it was Callisto and Leech. But there's this shitty warehouse, and it's the Friends of Humanity. And they've captured the character Hotspot. He's not called Hotspot yet. He's going under his real name, but I can't fucking remember it because I just call him Hotspot. It's easier to fucking remember. But he's got the power dampening collar on, and they're bringing him in. And this is the part where I say about the writing doesn't make sense, because here is the big fucking part of it. They drag him into this warehouse, and the Friends of Humanity guys who, they're tinkering with something, and you're hearing the guys muttering like, yeah, they're paying like 10 grand for us bringing in mutants. Oh, yeah, we can get more tech for this. And you see him putting on, like, Mega Man Buster cannons on their arms, but they say they're Sentinel tech. All I know is they better watch it, because it looks like the fucking Mega Man Buster cannon. This is the part where I'll say where the writing doesn't make sense. Where I said before about where they're talking about, oh yeah, they're paying like 10 grand for mutants. They never mention that again of who's... No one even questions. None of the X-Men question why are they kidnapping mutants and who's paying for mutants. They kind of skate over that. But also, too, Hotspot, he's a rich kid. He's like, hey, man, if you let me go, I'll pay you a ransom. I'm the heir to this fortune. I'm filthy rich. And they're just like, typical Friends of Humanity stuff like, shut up, mutie, you're born different, blah, blah, blah. Then the room starts getting cold. Storm busts in, Gotta say, they still have the original voice actress from Storm. She sounds like she hasn't aged a fucking day. And she asks them to surrender. They're like, fuck you, mutie. And they start blasting her. Then Bishop shows up. And they start beating ass. And of course, it's kind of cool to see Bishop, but they don't explain why Bishop is back. Because in the original show, he went back to his timeline and stayed there. He never came back, and this whole episode, Bishop's just there. They don't even talk about why he's there. And if I remember, even in the animation, his design, he's not even wearing his time armband to keep him in our timeline. So right there's already with the canon fuckery. And it's like Bishop and Storm are beating ass, but then like a generator blows up and takes them out, and they're like, yeah, let's get those muties, we'll get more money for that. And then, of course, wall explodes, here comes Cyclops, and I gotta admit, they actually have Cyclops beating some ass in this fight scene, which was pretty cool. It was actually the one thing I will give the show. It's actually nice seeing like the X-Men being able to fight people and like punch people. Like Cyclops is like blasting these guys with his optic blast and just like punching motherfuckers. It was pretty awesome. And it's the same voice actor from the original show. He sounds like Cyclops. And like the main dude who's of the Friends of Humanity guys, like the leader there, he goes over to what they were tinkering with, which was a Sentinel arm, and he activates it and it starts blasting, and Cyclops is like dodging, he gets wrapped up in a Sentinel thing, and of course these dumb fucks, they get him all wrapped up and they're like, yeah, take his visor off. Dumb fucks, and he takes them out. And then, of course, this is where the plot of the episode starts, where now they're trying to figure out where the Friends of Humanity are getting the Sentinel tech from, because supposedly they destroyed all the Sentinel techs Sentinel stuff at the end of the first season when they blew up Master Mold. And also, this is where we start getting the rest of the cast brought in, like they're back at the X Mansion. Gambit is making beignets in the kitchen. I guess they're having breakfast, and right off the bat, the guy who's doing Gambit's voice sucks. He doesn't sound like how Gambit should sound. They have the original voice actor in the show, but for some fucking reason, he's not allowed to be Gambit. He's got to play Cable. I don't fucking know. I don't know if this new voice actor is real Cajun or not, because again, everyone's got to be authentic, but the new guy just sounds like a pussy. Well, I'll just put it that way. His voice is so like high-pitched, and he doesn't sound suave. The original dude who did Gambit's voice, man, made Gambit sound like the coolest motherfucker and the smoothest guy in the room. This new guy, he just doesn't sound right. And Rogue comes in too, because like Cyclops is giving Gambit shit. Rogue comes in, kind of defends it, which I do appreciate this. They keep all of the relationships from the original show in this show. So Jean and Cyclops are together. Rogue and Gambit have a relationship, which I'm glad at that they didn't try and like change that. They're still like flirty with each other and stuff. I like that. And I think they have the original voice actress for Rogue, but she sounds a little rough. And then Morph comes in, and so far he's not bad in this first episode, but all they're doing is like he's just doing his jokey stuff, which again, he did that in the first episode of the original show before they whacked him. And then of course Jean comes in. That's when, because this is the dumbest scene. Gambit tries to tell Cyclops to chill out, and Gambit charges up one of his beignets and throws it at Cyclops. Jean catches it with her mind powers and throws it out the window, and it blows up. And of course, she does her typical Jean shit of scolds fucking Gambit. And this is where you see Jean is very pregnant. I guess this show must take place like almost like 9 months after the original show, because she looks like she's about ready to pop. And then we cut to Hotspot is in Beast's lab, getting checked out, and of course, they do the typical thing with Beast. He's upside down doing shit. And then comes in Jubilee, and she's still fucking annoying. And also, too, this is where uh, the animation, I don't know if it's like my feed for Disney Plus or what, but this is where the animation started getting choppy. What I mean by that is the characters are talking, but they're not synced into the, like, Beast and Hotspot are talking, and then Jubilee comes in. All of a sudden, all their, like, Jubilee's talking, but her words are not matching up with the mouth. And then, like, Hotspots doesn't, and then Beast doesn't. It was like, that whole scene, it's just like the animation just got real weird. And then Storm and Cyclops come in, and Storm's fucking, like, her, like, it was not synced up right. Again, I'm not sure if it was just something quirky on my end or what, but if it's not, holy shit. That was like, this was bad, like a bad anime dub from like the 90s. And my Christ, we're in 2023, we're in 2024. We shouldn't be having these fucking problems. But also, too, I guess I'll just say this, the animation, when the characters are almost standing still, it doesn't look bad. But when the characters just start to move, I don't know. It's weird because it's like 3D, almost like kind of cell shaded, but it just looks weird. It's not like the original cartoon where it was like this sleek, fluid movement. This stuff, they kind of look like they bob around. It's kind of hard to explain with it, but it doesn't look right. But again, they keep trying to add, Hotspot keeps wanting to leave, I gotta say, now that I think about it, they pretty much are doing with Hotspot what they did with Jubilee in the first episode of the original show, where he doesn't really like using his powers. Like, he hasn't used his powers at all in this episode until the very end. And even then, we don't really get to see what he does. But anyway, he wants to leave, and Jubilee's just like, no, you gotta stay, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, well, what do we do for fun around here? And then she plops him in the danger room and pulls up Magneto for some reason. He's like, oh, video games are for nerds. And he finds out, oh, this ain't a fucking video game. This is like holograms. And then this is where Wolverine shows up. My God, this is almost a repeat of the original fucking episode, because in the original 90s cartoon, that's how we see Wolverine the first time. Him and Gambit are in the danger room. In this fucking episode, we meet Wolverine. He's in the fucking danger room with Hotspot. And Wolverine scares the shit out of him, and he runs away. But I will say this too, hearing Carl Dobbs, he's the voice actor for Wolverine. He sounds a little bit better in the show than he was in the trailers. Granted, the dude is old, so his voice is kind of not as deep and like gravelly like it used to be. It's kind of more higher pitched, but he still kind of sounds like Wolverine, so I'm kind of happy about that. And then we cut to Jean and Cyclops talking to some doctor chick. I don't remember her fucking name, but she works for the UN, and they're trying to get down to, well, who has the Sentinel tech? They get, Cyclops gets snippy with her, and the whole episode, this is where, like, Cyclops starts being a dick, which is, like, his default mode of being an uptight prick. He's pissing off because the X-Men aren't taking this seriously. They're out playing basketball. And then him and Jean have this serious conversation about, well, we're going to have a family now, Scott. And Jean wants to leave the X-Men after Nathan is born. They don't say Nathan, but I know it's who it's supposed to be. And this is where we have another canon fucking dispute, because Jean Grey does not give birth to Nathan Summers. Madeline Pryor does. But who knows? We don't know if some fuckery's going to go on, but they're having their little talk, and then this is like right out of like a fucking like a family sitcom. Basketball comes through the window and knocks down. I kind of like it. They actually have the picture of the original X-Men with Jean, Scott, Beast, Angel, and Iceman all in their original costumes. I like that little Easter egg. It made me smile. Sorry. Throat getting a little dry here. But then, of course, knocks the picture down, breaks, and then Scott goes out. Like I said, it's this total TV sitcom bullshit. Scott's the dad, wagging like, God damn it, kids, you broke the window, and blah, blah, blah. And we go right into, like, Wolverine and Cyclops' butting heads. And even though Jean is, like, fucking almost 9 months pregnant, Wolverine is still pussy whipped by her. Kind of made me laugh, but it's like, well, at least it's not like him and Cyclops are trying to, like, fucking, dock with each other, which everyone was afraid of. But I will say another thing, this whole first episode, I did not get a whiff of any SJW bullshit. Not a whiff. And also none of the Krakoa shit. I know some people like Jonathan Hickman's run of X-Men. I fucking don't. In my opinion, he has destroyed the X-Men. But anyway, I digress. Back to the show. So pretty much, the X-Men are splitting up. Wolverine, Jubilee, Gambit, and Rogue are going to go try and find Hotspot. Jean's staying at home because she can't do anything. She's pregnant. So Scott, Storm, and Bishop are going to go interrogate Gyrick. When we cut to Wolverine and company find Hotspot. He's in like some underground nightclub. And this is where the animation's kind of cool. And this is where I said about earlier with the relationship, because Gambit and Rogue are off by themselves. Like, they're looking for Hotspot, and Rogue starts seeing like everyone kind of like the people dancing, holding hands, and kissing. And she starts feeling bad, and then, like, Gambit kind of starts sweet-talking her, which is where I'm like, I'm glad they keep that relationship there. And then Morph and Wolverine are off talking. Wolverine starts, like, Morph's fucking with him. He turns into Jean, and kind of talks about, like, oh, even though I'm married to this boring guy, I still like having you as my side chick. And Wolverine's like, yeah, shut the fuck up, Morgan. He's like, he's like, they're gonna leave the team. And Morph's like, oh, fuck. And this is where I said, where, like, the plot in this doesn't make sense. Because then the Friends of Humanity show up to look for Hotspot. Again, they don't fucking ever figure out why they want Hotspot. They don't even say how they find him here. It's like the reason why the X-Men find him is because Wolverine is tracking his scent. Jubilee bumps into Hotspot. They have a talk. They're bonding. As again, Hotspot is pretty much taking Jubilee's spot of being the new young member who he doesn't really like his powers. He hasn't told his parents he's a mutant. Blah, 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 blah. And then we cut to Cyclops and Storm interrogating Gyrick. And this is where I think this is where they get a little out of character with Gyrick, because Gyrick is like really spouting all like this anti-mutant shit. Whereas like in the original show, Gyrick didn't really sound like a radical. He was more like down to business, and this is like the safety of the country. This, they kind of make him almost like a zealot. Which again is different because in the comics, Bolivar Trask is the fucking true believer and radical where he wants to exterminate mutants. That's why he builds the fucking Sentinels. But they're trying to get him to talk and saying, like, you're serving a 25-year sentence, but we'll get it bumped down to 10 if you cooperate. And he pretty much just tells them, eat shit. So then this is where it gets a little weird where Jean just, like, mindfucks Gyrick. Which, again, was always, like, a big no-no, even in the comics, to, like, for her to just, like, mind rape a dude. But she goes in his mind, finds out where Trask is, but then she gets, like, sucked into, like, this nightmare vision where she's in her costume, she's not pregnant anymore, but then all of a sudden, like, her baby's in her arms, she's in the middle of a graveyard, then, like, the ground opens up and a giant Master Mold head comes out and he's like, I am Master Mold, I am death, and then goes all Terminator 2 fucking nuclear explosion and she snaps out of it. Again, it's weird. I don't know if it's hinting at somebody is fucking with people trying to, like, bring up the Sentinels. I don't know. But she tells him she knows where Trask is because Trask built a Master Mold in the middle of the Sahara Desert. Again, this is where, continuity doesn't make, like, they're kind of, this is where it doesn't make sense, because they're following the continuity of the show. In the show, at the end of the first season, Trask helps them destroy Master Mold is because Master Mold tells, because Trask is like, why do you want to turn on humanity? I just built you to kill mutants, and Master Mold tells him that is an error because mutants are humans. So humans need to be protected from themselves. And then that breaks Trask. It snaps him out of it. But in this, he builds Master Mold again and tries to build Sentinels. And this leads into where the X-Men are there and the Blackbird. Of course, typical Blackbird gets destroyed, and this is admittedly pretty cool. Like, Storm, yeah, they're all falling. Like, Rogue grabs Beast and Bishop. Storm gets Gambit. Morph turns into Archangel to grab Wolverine, and then, admittedly, this is a pretty cool scene. Cyclops uses his opens up his optic blast fully to, like, land. And this is where he says the cheesy line. He lands on the ground. He's like, to me, my X-Men. Don't like that line. Don't like it in the comics. Don't like it here. And then they go find Trask, and he's literally out in the middle of fucking nowhere. No factory, just out in the middle of the desert in a junkyard with a completely built Master Mold, which, again, even in the original show, they needed money to build Master Mold. In the original show, when originally they had him in Geonosia, he had to be hooked up to a dam to supply power to him. Then when they see him again, when they take him out in the end of the first season, he's like in a underground facility where he's hooked up to like something more like a generator to keep generating power. In this, they're literally out in the middle of the desert. And Trask is all disheveled looking, and all the Sentinels get up. They kind of look like zombies. They're all, like, fucked up, and pretty much the X-Men just start beating ass. Serious ass. They plow through all the Sentinels, and then Trask activates Master Mold, and this is where you saw in the trailers where Gambit charges up Wolverine's claws. Morph turns into the Blob, and he bounces off of him, and then one-shots Master Mold. Blows his fucking head up. Then the UN show up, they arrest Trask, and Trask is acting all crazy, talking like, "You mutants will be the death of us," and they take him off, and then we cut back to the X-Men. They're back at the mansion. They're all about to play basketball, and they're like, "Well, Cyclops, you choose the teams." And Cyclops like, "Well, guys, I know I've been hard on you, but..." Just about before he finishes what he says, an alarm goes off, and they're like, "Intruder alert. Someone's in Professor X's office." Cut to it. It's Magneto. And he throws him this book. It's the last will and testament of Charles Xavier. His money, his mansion, everything he owns is now mine. That's the end of the first episode. And I will give it, I know I should have said it at the beginning, but they do the original intro in the show. They kind of changed up the music, but it's still like the same way how it was animated. They added some new stuff in because they had to add Morph and Bishop. And then the outro is almost like how the original outro was, where it was... Now, the original outro was CGI models of the characters, and it gave like a little file card of their powers and their names. It went through all the characters. The show ends like that, too. But, like I said, at the end of this, the plot of this episode just doesn't make sense, because it's like they're retreading old stuff that they already got done with. It doesn't make sense that Trask is building Sentinels. Because, again, the Sentinels are going to turn on humans. Why build them if they're just going to turn on you? And then, again, this whole plot of the fucking side plot, which they don't even get to, which is, who the fuck wants mutants? Someone is paying bounties on mutants. They never... Like, Cyclops never brings it up. Nobody brings it up in the whole fucking show of who would be wanting to buy mutants. Again, this is just the first episode. I'll say it was kind of cool. Like, the only takeaway I really liked was hearing Wolverine's voice. That was about it. The action scenes are okay, but again, I'm still trying to get used to this animation, and I don't know. I was halfway through, I was in the beginning of episode 2, but I wanted to get this review out. I'm gonna give this show maybe 2 more episodes, and we'll see. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I'll see how I feel about episode 2. I might do a review of it, but go wait how this goes. Again, it's like, so far the show, I just don't know. If I had to rate this, I'd give it a 2. I'd give it a 3 out of 5. It's not bad, but it's not good. It's just okay. And maybe the animation style will grow on me. But the one thing I will say, from some of the stills they released where it looked like they downplayed the curvaceousness of Storm and Rogue. But I gotta admit, they kind of show that Rogue's got tits in this, and really didn't get a lot of ass shots, but maybe some of us jumped the gun a bit. I mean, I don't know, maybe we just gotta see how this goes, but once again, this is the Strange Skull, signing off. Take care, guys.